students. Today we are going to talk about the organization of your comparison essay. And we're going to do that by talking about something called point-by-point organization. This is a very useful organization, not only for the comparison essay, but also for many other types of essays. And so that's why I chose for us to learn about point-by-point organization instead of the other types of organization. So the first thing that we need to know is that a point of comparison is something that we often talk about when we talk about point-by-point organization. We also call this sometimes POC, right? Because point of comparison. Now, a point of comparison is really a category, right? So when we want to compare high school versus college, how are we going to compare those two? What categories are we going to use to compare high school and college? Well, we can think back to the essay that we used as an assignment last week. And one of the points of comparison for high school and college, of course, was the homework. We said that the homework is very different in these two types of schools. Another point of comparison would be tests and exams, because those are also very different in high school than they are in college. And then a final point of comparison we said was attendance policies, right? Because the attendance policy in high school is super different from college. So again, these are the 3 points of comparison, or the 3 categories that we're going to use to tell how high school and college are similar or how high school and college are different. Okay. Let's take another example and imagine that we're going to compare to other things. So high school and college, we've already read an essay about. Now I'd like you to think about if you were to compare your brother and your sister. First of all, do you think they're very similar or very different? And second of all, what are the points of comparison or the categories that you would use to compare these two people? Now, if you don't have a brother or a sister, you can just imagine, or you can think of 2 friends. That's okay too, right? But I'd like you to pause the video and think about it. You can write it down, take some notes. In a minute, I'm going to give you my answers, but I'd like you to take the time to think about it so you get some practice in. Okay, so here are my answers, and yours might be different, and that's okay, right? But I actually have a brother and a sister, and I think my brother and sister are quite different. So my points of comparison are, number 1, personality, because my brother is more reserved and more shy, maybe quiet, and my sister is very loud and loves to talk to people and she hates being alone, right? So they're kind of opposites in personality. The second point of comparison that I thought about was definitely physical appearance, because my brother is like a giant. He's like a basketball player. He's 6'4", super tall. And then my sister is 5 foot, I think she's like 5'4" or 5'5". So there's almost a foot of difference between the two of them, right? So physical appearance, they look very different. And then the last one, I was trying to think of something that's different than physical appearance, and it's also different from personality. So I think I would say maybe relationship with me, right? Because I have a great relationship with both of them, but my relationship with my brother is very different from my relationship with my sister. Like the things we talk about or the things we like to do together are different, okay? So again, your 3 points of comparison might be different, and that's okay. You might have chosen to talk about differences. You might have chosen to talk about similarities. That's okay, right? But just giving you a little bit of practice with those. Okay, so now we know what a point of comparison is. It's a category used to compare your 2 subjects, right? So the things in blue we can call the subjects. That's another important thing, okay? Okay, so let's look at some of the important aspects of point-by-point organization, okay? So the first thing to note is that in the point-by-point method of organization, you discuss one point of comparison for both subjects first, right? I'm going to actually highlight that because that's very important. You discuss one point of comparison for both subjects first before discussing the second and third points of comparison. And you must use at least 2 points of comparison. Now, let me show you what I mean by that by looking at an outline. Whoops. By looking at an outline. So I chose to use the example of my brother and my sister. And I'm going to start to fill in this outline and show you how you could fill in your own outline. Okay. So the introduction, we learned that we need to have a hook, we need to have background information, but right now I'm not feeling super creative. I just want to focus on the thesis statement. Later, I might go back and fill in these things, but honestly, I usually do those things last, right? I always think about my thesis statement first because it's the most important. So I'm going to start by writing a thesis statement that tells my 2 subjects. It also needs to tell if I'm talking about similarities or differences. And it also needs to tell my 3 points of comparison. So that's a lot, right, in a thesis statement, but I'm going to try. I'm going to say my brother and my sister are quite different in terms of, now I need my 3 points of comparison. Let me see. The first one was personality. The second one was how they look, physical appearance. And the third one was, oh my gosh, I forgot. Let me go back. Oh, relationship. And their relationship with me. Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to check this thesis statement one more time and make sure it's a good one. First, it needs to have the 2 subjects, right? So I'm going to put them right now in blue. My brother and my sister. So I have the 2 subjects. That's excellent. Next, it needs to tell if they are similar or different. Am I comparing similar things or different? Here it says they are quite different. Okay, great. I'm going to put that in, I'm going to highlight that in orange. And then third, it needs to tell my 3 points of comparison, right? This says you must use at least 2, so 2 or 3 points of comparison, okay? So yes, I have personality, that's number 1. Physical appearance is number 2. And of course, their relationship with me, that's going to be number 3. So I think this is a great thesis statement. It's very strong because it has all of these things. The subject, similar or different, and it also has the 3 points of comparison, which I've now put in red. Okay, so high five to me. I did a great job. Now let's get into the body paragraphs. The body paragraphs is where we're going to discuss one point of comparison for both subjects first before discussing the others. And I'm going to show you what I mean right now. Body paragraph number 1 should be point of comparison number 1. And we can look back at the thesis statement. So my first point of comparison is personality. So that's going to be the topic of body number 1 or body paragraph number 1. The second body paragraph is going to be my second point of comparison, physical appearance. I'll put that here. And then my third body paragraph, can you guess what it is? That's right. It's going to be the third point of comparison here, their relationship with me, right? Okay, so what this first note is saying is that I have to discuss one point of comparison for both subjects. So that means with my body number 1, I need to first talk about my brother's personality, right? I'll write that here. My brother's personality. And then I need to talk about my sister's personality. My sister's personality. I need to talk about both subjects in terms of this point of comparison before I can go on to the next one, right? So I can't just talk about my brother's personality. I have to also talk about my sister's personality, okay? The second thing I need, so here I'm going to do the same thing. Here I'm not going to talk about personality. First I'm going to talk about my brother's physical appearance. And then I'm going to talk about my sister's physical appearance, right? So again, I'm going to talk about both subjects, right? My brother and my sister before I go on to the next point of comparison, okay? So that's very, very important. A final rule to remember is be sure to discuss the subjects in the same order for each point of comparison. Now, this means that if you start with your brother and then go to your sister in body number 1, you should follow the same order in body number 2. First, I start with my brother, and then I talk about my sister. So body number 3 is going to be the same way. I'm not going to talk about my sister first because she needs to go second. I need to keep the same order. So here I'll say my brother's relationship with me, and then, of course, my sister's relationship with me. Okay, so this is sort of what the outline is going to look like. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of practice to do this on your own, but I hope this helps you kind of visualize what the essay is going to look like and how you could make your own plan for these things. I'm going to put an example essay or an example outline that's a little bit more detailed up on D2L, and feel free to take a look at that and use that as a guide or as an example.